Have you ever played with a real egg just like a ball? Have you ever played with a real egg and have bounced it just like a ping pong ball? Here I'll do it. Watch it. And this is a real egg. Now, have you ever blown a balloon without pouring in air into it or pumping air into it? Have you ever blown a balloon without blowing air into it? Here I'll do it. Watch it out. Are you curious after seeing all this? Are you excited? I am too. If you wish to know exactly as to how you can play with a real egg just like a ping pong ball and how you can blow a balloon without pumping air into it, please to watch the video till the end. You are going to love the video. You can exactly know the science behind it. Along with it, we will also learn what is an acid and what are the detailed information about acid which is given in your syllabus. So please to watch the video till the end. I assure you guys, each of your minute is going to be worth it. You all are going to love it. So please to watch the video till the end. Hello everyone. If you are new to my channel, then this is me, Subha. Heartily welcoming you all to my channel Subha Classes. Today in this video we are going to discuss what is an acid, what are the various classification of acid, what are the properties of acid, what are the chemical behavior or chemical nature of an acid, why do we call an acid to be a strong acid or a weak acid, and what is basicity of an acid. Today this video is going to be very interesting video. I assure you guys, each of your minute is going to be worth it. So please to watch the video till the end. I hope you will enjoy the video. Thank you so very much for being a part of my family. Thank you. So let's begin by understanding what does the word acid mean. The word acid has been derived from the Latin word acidus, which means sour taste. Many substances can be identified as acids based on their tests. But this criteria is not enough for acidic character. Some acids like sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, nitric acid, that is HNO3, etc. have got strong action on the skin and they may cause severe burns. In such cases, it would be practically dangerous to test such acids. Now let us analyze an acid from the viewpoint of a chemist, for which the chemical formulae and the structure of different acids need to be examined. So we can define acid from the overall idea as, from the viewpoint of a chemist, as an acid is a chemical substance which on dissolution with water releases one or more H+ ions as positively charged ions. I repeat it again. An acid is a chemical substance which on dissolution with water releases one or more H plus ions as the only positively charged ions. Now here in this definition, when I say on dissolution with water, here I mean that when an acid is dissolved in water, that means a solution of acid in water. What does happen when a solution of acid in water takes place? It releases one or more H plus ions, that is, here when I say H plus, I mean hydrogen ions, as the only positively charged ion. To such a chemical substance, we call it to be an acid. We can also say an acid is a chemical substance which releases one or more H plus ions, that is hydrogen ions, in its aqueous solution. By aqueous solution we mean its solution in water. That means when an acid is dissolved in water, it releases protons. So this H plus ions, we call it to be protons. Now why do we call it to be protons? Now if we try to analyze and understand, from where do we get H plus ions? We can get this H plus ions when a hydrogen liberates its electron. We know hydrogen has got one electron and one proton. When it gives away its one electron, then we get H plus ion. That means here this H plus ion is left with one proton and two electrons. So for which this H plus ion is also called as proton. Now we can take an example to analyze it well. For example, we can take when HCl, it is an acid, when it is dissolved in water, we get H plus and Cl minus ions. Now it is very important here to remember that this H plus ion cannot stay alone by itself because it is highly unstable, it is highly reactive, for which it remains combined with a molecule of water and it results in the formation of H3O plus ions, which are also called as hydronium ions. So the overall reaction we can write it as when HCl dissolves in water, we get H3O plus ions plus chloride ions. So this is the overall reaction. Now let us summarize it well. Let us relate the example with the definition. As I said, an acid is a chemical substance which on dissolution in water releases one or more H plus ions. It would be better if you say hydronium ions, or if you are using H plus ions, then you write it in this way, that H plus, beside that within one bracket you write AQ, that is aqueous. By AQ, by aqueous solution, we mean that H plus ion in solution with water. So as the definition suggests, when a chemical substance, when an acid on dissolution with water releases one or more hydronium ion or aqueous hydrogen ions as the only positively charged ion, to such a chemical substance we call it to be an acid. So now let us discuss what are the classification of acid. An acid is classified under two headings based on their sources, namely naturally occurring acids or organic acid, we call it in common. Secondly, mineral acids or inorganic acids. Now what do we mean by naturally occurring acid or organic acid? Those acids which are derived from organic sources such as plants and animals are referred to as organic acids or naturally occurring acids. Under this heading, we can take example as citric acid, whose formula is C6H8O7, is generally found in citrus fruits like lemons, oranges, raw mangoes, etc. The souring of milk is due to the formation of lactic acid, whose formula is C3H7O3, is also an example of organic acid. Formic acid, whose formula is HCOOH, is generally found in the stings of ants and bees. Acetic acid, whose formula is CH3COOH, we call it in general as vinegar, is also an example of organic acid. There are many examples of organic acid, and these are a very few among them. Now what do we mean by mineral acid or inorganic acid? Those acids which are derived from rocks and minerals, and this kind of acids can be synthesized in the laboratory, are referred to as mineral acids or inorganic acids. Now under this heading we can take example as hydrochloric acid, that is HCl, hydrobromic acid, that is HBr, nitric acid, that is HNO3, carbonic acid, that is H2CO3, phosphoric acid, that is H3PO4, sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, etc. etc. So acid is generally divided under two headings, that is naturally occurring acids or organic acids, because they are derived from organic sources, that is plants and animals, for which we call them to be organic acids, and these are very few examples of them. And the second classification is mineral acids, because this kind of acids are derived from rocks and minerals, and this kind of acids can be synthesized in the laboratory, for which we call it to be mineral acids or inorganic acids, and these are very few examples of inorganic acids. So now let us generalize or summarize the properties of an acid under three headings, and these are the basic indications which will let us know whether a substance, a chemical substance, is acidic or not. So let's discuss. The first heading is based on the basis of test. Now we know that acids are generally sour in taste. But as we studied prior, it is not advisable or it is not possible that we can test every acid, and if it tests sour, we call it to be acid, because there are many acids such as sulfuric acid, nitric acid, hydrochloric acid have got very damaging or dangerous effect on our health and skin. So, but generally there are also certain acids such as citric acid, which are found in citrus fruits like lemons, oranges, raw mangoes. We can test them and we can get to know that this chemical substance is acidic in nature, or this fruit contains some acidic substance. So, but this is a caution that do not test each and every acid, and if it tests so you identify that it is an acid. This is a basic criteria, just you cannot test each and every acid, it is limited to some acids. Now the second heading goes with solution in water. studied that acids are the substances which on dissolution in water releases one or more hydronium ion as the only positively charged ion. Now this is something which you can do with each and every acid to identify whether it has got some acidic nature or not. That when an acid is dissolved in water and when it get dissociated or it get break down in water, in its solution in water, then it releases one or more hydronium ion as the only positively charged ion. To such a substance we can call it to be acid, and this is the sole criteria for a chemical substance to be an acid. Now the third test, which is a confirmatory test, is the indicator test. Now if you would have watched my previous video that I had made on indicators, you would have learned from that video that what are the indications that the indicators give to identify whether a substance is acidic or not. And if you would have not watched the video, please do watch it, and its link also I will put in the description box. So we can generalize, or we know that acids turn blue litmus red, phenolphthalein colorless, and with the methyl orange indicator it turns red. So we can generalize that if a substance is acidic in nature, then it turns blue litmus to red, phenolphthalein to colorless, and methyl orange indicator to red color. Now these are the three basic properties which can decide whether a chemical substance is acidic or not. That is, an acid generally have got SAR test. An acid is a chemical substance which when dissolved in water releases one or two hydronium ion as the only positively charged ion. When we conduct an indicator test, then acid turns blue litmus red, phenolphthalein colorless, and methyl orange to red color. So now let's discuss what are the chemical properties of an acid. So the first property upon which we will discuss is action on metals. That means what happens when an acid reacts with metals. Dilute acids react with active metals to evolve hydrogen gas. That is right. Dilute acid reacts with active metals to liberate hydrogen gas. Now if we write the generalized equation, we can write it in this way. Metal plus dilute acid results in the formation of metal salt plus hydrogen. Now this is the generalized equation. Now let us take certain practical examples. For example, when zinc in solid state reacts with dilute sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, results in the formation of aqueous solution of zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas is liberated. Now by this up-headed arrow we mean the evolution of a gas. About this we have already studied in first chapter, that is chemical reaction and equation. So if you want to understand it in detail, then you can watch the video, whose link I'll also drop in the description box. Now if you take another example, similarly, magnesium in solid state reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid and results in the formation of aqueous solution of magnesium chloride and hydrogen gas is liberated. So by up-headed arrow as well as the G within the moon bracket represents the evolution of a gas. Now if we try to relate the example with the definition, let us see. The dilute acid when reacts with active metal results in the formation of metal salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. Now you can ask me, what do we mean by active metal? Why not simple metal? Why active metal? So here we say active metals, it is because the metals which are more reactive than hydrogen and which exist above hydrogen in the metal reactivity series displaces hydrogen in this reaction to form metal salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. So if you see exactly keenly, this equation is nothing but a metal displacement reaction. So here a more reactive metal than hydrogen displaces it from its respective acid to form metal salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. So by active metal we mean the metals which exist above hydrogen in the metal reactivity series, or the metals which are more reactive for which they stay above hydrogen in the metal reactivity series, so they displace hydrogen from the respective acid to form metal salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. Now you can also ask me, ma'am, what is metal reactivity series? So metal reactivity series is a certain kind of series where the active metals, the order of the reactivity of the metals are depicted, about which you will study in detail in your next chapter, that is metals and non-metals. So here you just get a simple idea that the metals which are more reactive than hydrogen, or the metals which remain above hydrogen in the metal reactivity series, displaces hydrogen from its respective acid to form metal salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. And this reaction we can generally say that it is a metal displacement reaction. So when a dilute acid reacts with active metal, it forms metal salt and hydrogen gas is liberated. So basing upon this property, we will discuss an activity which is given in your NCERT book, that is activity 2.3. So it is practically not possible on my part to make the setup and perform the exact experiment, for which, for your better understanding, I have prepared certain slides which focuses on the aim of the experiment, the materials required, the procedure, the observation and the conclusion. Remember children, this activity is very important for your examination, board examination. So please do follow all the slides. I have prepared everything in a point-wise basis. So please do follow them, because questions usually come that what is the gas which is liberated when a dilute acid reacts with active metal, and what are the property of those gases, or what are the confirmatory tests you do to confirm that the gas liberated is hydrogen gas. So relating to this question usually come. So this is a very important activity. Please to follow the activity, and I have just prepared in terms of slides. You will understand it well, I hope. So I hope you would all follow it. Then we will just proceed to the next property. I hope you would all have understood the activity 2.3, which depicted that when granules of zinc react with dilute sulfuric acid, it results in the formation of zinc sulfate and hydrogen gases liberated. So now let's step on to the second property, that is action with base. That means what happens when an acid reacts with a base. When an acid reacts with base, it results in the formation of salt and water. When an acid reacts with a base, it results in the formation of salt and water. Now we can write the generalized equation in this form. Acid, when reacts with base, results in the formation of salt and water. So, and this equation is known as, it has got a specific name for this reaction, and this reaction is named under neutralization reaction. Now what do we call it? To be a neutralization reaction, it may be also asked in your examination that define neutralization reaction with an example. So you can also write that when an acid reacts with a base, it results in the formation of salt and water. To such kind of a reaction, we call it to be a neutralization reaction. So let us take certain examples. Let's take hydrochloric acid. When reacts with sodium hydroxide, it results in the formation of sodium chloride along with the liberation of water molecules. So, when acid reacts with base, it results in the formation of salt, NaCl. You all know this is table salt, and water is released. Let's take another example. When zinc hydroxide reacts with sulfuric acid, it results in the formation of zinc sulfate and water molecules are released. So these are the basic examples of action with base. That means when it may be asked to you in examination that what happens when an acid reacts with a base, or define neutralization reaction. In both the way it can be asked to you. So what we understood, when an acid reacts with a base, it results in the formation of salt and water. To such kind of a reaction we call it to be neutralization reaction. And these two are certain basic examples of
acid reacting with base to form salt and water. So now let's move on to the third property of acid, chemical property, that is action with metal oxide. What happens when an acid reacts with metal oxide? When an acid reacts with metal oxide, it results in the formation of salt and water. Now, when an acid reacts with metal oxide, which is also of basic nature, results in the formation of salt and water. Now I said something new thing. What it is? That metal oxide which are also of basic nature. Now remember children, metal oxides show the property of a base. Now in our next video we'll learn about base, but for now you just get to know that metal oxides are basic in nature, for which when an acid reacts with a metal oxide, it also results in the formation of salt and water, like when acid reacted with a base. So metal oxides being basic in nature, they also result in the formation of salt and water when they react with an acid. So the generalized equation we can write it in this form, that when an acid reacts with metal oxide, it results in the formation of salt and water is released. So let's take certain specific examples. When calcium oxide in solid state reacts with hydrochloric acid, it results in the formation of calcium chloride in aqueous state and water is released. Now let's take another example. When magnesium oxide in solid state reacts with sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, results in the formation of magnesium sulfate in aqueous state and water is released. Now it's a very important thing I am going to say you children. Do remember, in examination when you write any equation relating to acid, base and salt chapter, do specify the physical state. Please do specify the physical state of each compound or each reacting agent and the product that is formed, or else you are going to lose marks in your board examinations. Even in your class examination also, but I'm not sure about the class examination because I don't know, but in your board examination format it is strictly written that when you write any equation pertaining to acid, base and salt chapter, do specify the physical state within the moon bracket of every reacting agent and the product that are formed, or else you are going to lose maybe half or 1 mark. So please do make a habit of writing it, and please do call it out while writing so that you can remember it well and easily, so that you won't feel hectic to memorize. If you think at a lot but I have to remember a lot, then you will feel heavy. So while writing makes a man perfect. So practice it one after the other and just call it out and write so that it will be easier on your part to remember. Don't accept it as a burden, it would be very easy, I assure you. Just make a practice and make a habit of writing it by calling it out, so that your hand will just move on accordingly. So what did we understand? That when an acid reacts with a metal oxide which is also of basic nature, results in the formation of salt and water. And these two are the specific few examples of this property. So basing on this property, we will also perform an activity that is activity 2.7, which is given in your NCERT book. This activity is also very important. Please do follow the slides that I have prepared, and we will within the slides also I'll discuss with you about the activity. I hope you will understand it.
In this activity, we would discuss what happens when an acid reacts with metal oxide. We know that metal oxide is basic in nature. So, in this activity, let's take a test tube and a small amount of copper oxide, that is cupric oxide. It is a black powder. In another tube, let's take dilute hydrochloric acid solution. Then let's add the acid solution dropwise to the black powder of cupric oxide, and we would continue stirring with a glass rod. We would see a chemical reaction would start, that is, the black powder slowly dissolves and the solution formed is bluish green in color. That is, the reaction that takes place is copper oxide in solid state, which is black in color, reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid and results in the formation of copper chloride in aqueous solution, which is bluish green in color, along with the liberation of water in liquid state.
I hope you would all have understood the activity 2.7. Now let's move on to the fourth property of acid, chemical property of acid, that is action with metal carbonate or metal hydrogen carbonate. So both metal carbonate and metal hydrogen carbonate reacts with acid to form salt, water and carbon dioxide gas is evolved. So both metal carbonate and metal hydrogen carbonate, here metal hydrogen carbonate is also referred to as metal bicarbonate. Remember, metal hydrogen carbonate is also referred to as metal bicarbonate. So both metal carbonate and metal bicarbonate or metal hydrogen carbonate reacts with acid to form salt, water and carbon dioxide gases evolved. So we can write the generalized equation in this manner. Metal carbonate or bicarbonate, when reacts with acid, it results in the formation of salt, water and carbon dioxide gases evolved. So this is the generalized equation when metal carbonate or metal bicarbonate you can also call it to be metal hydrogen carbonate, reacts with acid and results in the formation of salt, water and carbon dioxide gases evolved. So let's take certain specific examples. When calcium carbonate in solid state reacts with hydrochloric acid in aqueous state, results in the formation of a salt, and here the salt would be calcium chloride and aqueous calcium chloride plus excess of water is liberated and carbon dioxide gas is evolved. Yes, the equation is balanced. Always write a balanced chemical equation. Do not write an incomplete or unbalanced chemical equation. In that way also you are going to lose marks. So please always check that whether your equation is balanced or not. So what did we see? That when solid state of calcium carbonate reacts with aqueous solution of hydrochloric acid, results in the formation of aqueous calcium chloride and excess of water is liberated along with carbon dioxide gas is evolved. Let's take another example. We can take example as when sodium carbonate in solid state reacts with sulfuric acid in aqueous state, results in the formation of sodium sulfate in aqueous state as salt. Excess of water is released, along with it carbon dioxide gas is evolved. When sodium carbonate in solid state reacts with aqueous sulfuric acid, results in the formation of sodium sulfate in aqueous state. Here when I write beside water in within bracket AQ, you might say that water in solution with water. No. Here it refers to excess of water. Excess of water is released along with the liberation or evolution of carbon dioxide gas. So in generalized form, we saw that when metal carbonate or metal bicarbonate, which is also referred to as metal hydrogen carbonate, reacts with acid to form salt, water and carbon dioxide gas is evolved. So regarding this also we will specify an activity which is given in your NCERT book. So please to follow the activity. I just focus on those activities which are very important for your examination point of view, especially your board examinations. So from this activity also the question come. So on the specific activities I just have just made points and I have just made it a systematic manner in the form of slides. Please to follow it and it will be easy on your part to remember, and please to follow the activity. Then we will just proceed.
The eggshell gets its hardness from a mineral called calcium carbonate, similar to our bones. When you place the egg into the vinegar, you will start to observe bubbles. These bubbles are a chemical reaction between the acid in the vinegar and the base in the calcium carbonate of the eggshell. The calcium carbonate in the eggshell and the acetic acid in vinegar interact to form carbonic acid and calcium acetate. Then the carbonic acid breaks down to form carbon dioxide gas and water is released. This reaction dissolves the egg shell.
After 24 hours, you can see the egg to be converted into this manner, that is, the entire shell has been removed and a thin outer layer is formed. This egg is so spongy, you can see, it's so smooth. You can just play with it like a ping pong ball and you can see it is bouncing, and the pressure that I applied, it just bursted and it formed into a real egg, you can see. When it bursted, you can exactly see this is a thin covering which was there outside the egg, and this is a real egg, you can see. So now let us understand the science behind how could we blow a balloon without pumping in air into it. What I did, in this bottle I took acetic acid, and inside the balloon I took baking soda, that is sodium bicarbonate, which is easily available at your home. And acetic acid we commonly call it to be vinegar. So when I lifted the balloon and allowed the sodium bicarbonate, that is baking soda, to react with acetic acid and I poured inside it, then the reaction took place, and if you remember, we have already studied that when an acid reacts with a metal hydrogen carbonate or metal bicarbonate, it results in the formation of metal salt, water is liberated and carbon dioxide gas is released. So in this reaction, when sodium bicarbonate reacts with acetic acid, it results in the formation of sodium acetate, which is the metal salt here. The water is liberated, which is in the solution, and the carbon dioxide gas is released. It being gas, it is lighter, so it moves upward and it helps in blowing the balloon. So the carbon dioxide gas which is released is responsible for blowing the balloon. So I hope you would all have loved the two tricks, the science tricks that we made, and it was there inbuilt in our course. I hope you all have loved it. So this was all about it.
So now let's discuss what is a strong acid and a weak acid. So we can decide whether an acid is a strong or weak based on its strength. Now what do we mean by strength of an acid? Strength of an acid depends upon the concentration of hydronium ions produced in the aqueous solution of an acid. Now I repeat it. Strength of an acid depends upon the concentration of hydronium ions produced in the aqueous solution of an acid. That means when an acid is dissolved in water, the concentration of hydronium ion molecules that is present in a considerable volume of water, by considering that we determine the strength of an acid. So now let's take certain example. So let's consider we would take two beakers and we would name them A and B. That is, this is beaker A and this is beaker B. So into these two beakers, we will add 1 liter of water in each of the beaker. So we would add 1 liter of water into each of the beaker. Now let's pour 100 molecules of hydrochloric acid into beaker A, that is HCl. So we would add 100 molecules of HCl into beaker A, and to the beaker B, let's add 100 molecules of acetic acid, that is CH3COOH. So into beaker B, we are going to add 100 molecules of acetic acid. So we know that when an acid is dissolved in water, we have already studied that it releases hydronium ion and the respective anion. So here, in case of beaker A, the reaction or the anions and the cations that will be produced and the reaction which will take place is as HCl in liquid form when it is dissolved in water, it releases H plus ions plus Cl minus ions. And in detail we have already studied that this H plus ion, being highly unstable, will combine with a molecule of water to form H3O plus ions, that is hydronium ions. And in case of beaker B, the reaction that will take place is CH3COOH, that is acetic acid, in liquid form in the presence of water or when dissolved in water results in the formation of H plus ions and acetate ions, that is CH3COO minus ions. So this is the reaction that takes place when these two acids are dissolved in water. Now, but in case of beaker A and in case of beaker B, the difference that we will observe is, in case of beaker A, that is in case of hydrochloric acid aqueous solution, we would see that mostly all the molecules of hydrochloric acid have been dissociated to form the respective cations and anions, that is H plus and Cl minus ions. Whereas in case of beaker B, where we have taken acetic acid aqueous solution, in this equation we would see that very few molecules of acetic acid would dissociate to form the respective cations and anions, that is H plus and acetate ion. So why there is exactly a difference between the HCl aqueous solution and the acetic acid aqueous solution? It is nothing but it is because of the strength of the acid which is responsible for the dissociation of the molecules into the respective ions. So here we can say that the strength of the HCl molecule is more than that of the acetic acid. That means hydrochloric acid has got more strength than acetic acid, for which hydrochloric acid is referred to as strong acid and acetic acid is referred to as a weak acid. So, basing on this example, we can define strong acid as So now let's define what is strong acid. almost completely in its aqueous solution, thereby producing a high concentration of hydronium ions are known as strong acids. I repeat it. Acids which dissociate almost completely in its aqueous solution, thereby producing a high concentration of hydronium ion, are referred to as strong acids. So now let's discuss which acids we generally call strong acids. Remember children, generally mineral acids are considered to be strong acids. So if you remember, we have already studied what are mineral acids. So some examples of mineral acids are hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, phosphoric acid, hydrobromic acid, etc. and etc. But remember, generally mineral acids are strong acids except carbonic acid, that is H2CO3. Carbonic acid is a weak acid. So now let's define what is a weak acid. So we can define weak acid as acids which dissociate to a small extent in its aqueous solution, thereby producing a low concentration of hydronium ions are known as weak acids. So I repeat it, acids which dissociate to a small extent in its aqueous solution, thereby producing a low concentration of hydronium ions, are referred to as weak acids. So to which acids we generally consider to be weak acids? So generally organic acids are referred to as weak acids. If you remember what are organic acids, we have already studied acids which have been derived from plants and animals or which are derived from organic sources. Those are referred to as organic acids. So some few examples of organic acids are acetic acid, formic acid, or HCOOH. To acetic acid we also generally call it to be vinegar. Citric acid, and also carbonic acid. Just now I said that this is the only mineral acid which is a weak acid. So I hope you have understood that what is a strong acid, what is a weak acid, and how do we determine whether an acid is a strong acid or a weak acid based on its strength. And strength depends upon the concentration of hydronium ion produced in the aqueous solution of an acid, and to a strong acid we call that which an acid which almost completely dissociate in its aqueous solution to produce a higher concentration of hydronium ion is referred to as a strong acid, and acids which dissociate to a small extent in its aqueous solution, thereby producing a low concentration of hydronium ion, are referred to as weak acids. So now let us discuss a question which is very important from the point of view of your board examination. So the question which comes is, this is a very important question, children. It frequently comes in examination, may it be ICSE or CBSE students. To both the students, it is very important to understand it, because you might be knowing the definition, but generally what happened that children used to make mistake and they lack understanding. So we'll discuss it. So generally question used to come that a strong acidic solution contains bit number 1 ions only, bit number 2 ions and molecules, bit number 3 molecules only, bit number 4 none of the above. So could you think a bit what would be the correct answer? A strong acidic solution contains which among them? That is ions only, or ions and molecules, or molecules only, or none of the above. So if you would analyze what we just studied, from that you can just understand that a strong acidic solution is a solution which we defined as acids which dissociate almost completely to form the respective cations and anions in their aqueous solution, thereby producing a higher concentration of hydronium ion. And to those kind of acids we call them to be strong acids. So in case of strong acids, when you dissolve them in water, you will get the exact number of molecules of the cations, that is hydronium ions, to that of the molecules of acid that you have been added to the water. So here in this case the answer would be ions only. That means in case of a strong acid, it completely dissociates to form the respective cations, or you can say that the number of molecules of acids that you have added to the water to form the aqueous solution of that respective acid, the same number of hydronium ions you are going to get. So the answer would be ions only. So if I change the question a bit, that a weak acidic solution contains which among them? That is ions only, ions and molecules, molecules only, and none of the above. So what would be the correct answer? Just now we studied that to those acids we call them to be weak acids, that is acids which dissociate to a very small extent, that is very few molecules of those acids dissociate into their respective cations and anions, for which they produce a lower concentration of hydronium ion when they are dissolved in water, for which we refer to them as weak acids. So here in a weak acidic solution, the solution would contain a very few molecules which have dissociated their respective ions, and the rest of the molecules remain as molecules only. They do not change their form, they just remain unreactive, and in the solution they remain as molecules. And very few molecules which dissociate, they remain as ions. So in the solution you would find a mixture of ions and molecules. So here in this question the answer would be ions and molecules. So these two questions are very tricky questions that usually come in your board examination. So please do keep this in mind. You need not memorize it at all. Just understand the concept. Just understand what you are reading. Conceptualize it so that it would be better for your understanding, so that you can attend this kind of questions. But remember, this is a very, very, very important question for your board examination. So now let's discuss what is basicity of acid. So what do we mean by the term basicity of acid? By basicity of acid, we mean the number of replaceable hydrogen atom present in an acid which it can release in its aqueous solution or when it is dissolved in water. So I repeat it. The number of replaceable hydrogen atom present in an acid which it can release in its aqueous solution or when it is dissolved in water. So let's take certain very few examples of acids so we can understand it very well. So let's make a list first. That is HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, sulfurous acid, carbonic acid, phosphoric acid, acetic acid, formic acid, phosphorus acid. So these are the very few acids we have taken, and we would discuss the basicity of these acids and we would understand the definition well. So here, in case of hydrochloric acid, that is HCl, it is able to replace a single hydrogen atom in its aqueous solution as H plus ion. So it releases one H plus ion, for which it is called as monobasic acid. So we can also say, basing on the basicity of acid, we can term them as monobasic acid, dibasic acid, tribasic acid, tetrabasic acid and azote. So in case of hydrochloric acid, it is able to release a single hydrogen ion, for which it is called as monobasic acid. So its basicity is what? Its basicity is 1. So So if it will be asked to you in your examination that what is the basicity of hydrochloric acid, so you can write it is 1 because it releases one hydrogen ion in its aqueous solution, or it can replace one hydrogen ion in its aqueous solution for which its basicity is 1, and it is also called as monobasic acid. In your examination also question can come that give an example of a monobasic acid. You can write hydrochloric acid. In both the way it can be asked that whether the acid will be given, the basicity will be asked, or it would be asked define or give the example of a monobasic acid or define what is monobasic acid. If it will be asked to you define what is monobasic acid, you can say that the acid which can replace a single hydrogen ion in its aqueous solution as the replaceable hydrogen ion. To such kind of acid we call it to be monobasic acid, and the example is hydrochloric acid. Please to remember children, when you answer a question such as a definition type of a question, please do always give examples if they exist any. So examples, if also it would not be asked in your question, still you give it so that your answer will be more appreciable and the examiner will understand that your concept is more clear. So let's move on. So in case of nitric acid, the replaceable hydrogen atom which it is able to release in its aqueous solution is also 1. That is 1 H plus ion it is able to release, for which it is also called as monobasic acid. Now in case of H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid, it is able to release 2H plus ion in its aqueous solution, for which its basicity is 2, and it is able to release 2H plus ion, so it is known as dibasic acid. Remember, when it will be asked to you that what is the basicity of sulfuric acid or nitric acid or hydrochloric acid, just give the number. That means in case of sulfuric acid its basicity is 2. Here I have represented that it replaces 2 hydrogen ion and its basicity is just 2. Don't write 2H plus. So it is known as dibasic acid. In case of sulfurous acid, its basicity is also 2. That means it is able to release 2H plus ions, for which it is also called dibasic acid. Now in case of carbonic acid, it is also able to replace 2H plus ions. That means its basicity is 2, for which it is called as dibasic acid. Now let's come to phosphoric acid. Here in case of phosphoric acid, it is able to release 3 hydrogen ion in its aqueous solution, so its basicity is 3 and it replaces 3 hydrogen ion, so we call it to be tribasic acid. As it releases 3 hydrogen ion, we call it to be tribasic acid. Now let's move on. You might be thinking till now that it is very easy. The number of hydrogen atoms contained in specific acid is equal to the basicity of the acid, but in every case it is not true. So we will look after the other acids where we can understand that it doesn't depend upon the number of hydrogen atoms that is contained in that acid, rather it depends upon the number of replaceable hydrogen atom which the acid can release in its aqueous solution. So in case of acetic acid, that is CH3COOH, we see that when we make a solution of it or when we dissolve it in water, we see that a single hydrogen ion is released in its aqueous solution, for which its basicity is 1. That is, it releases single H plus ion, for which it is monobasic acid. If you look after the number of hydrogen atoms, it has 4 number of hydrogen atoms, but in its aqueous solution it releases a single hydrogen atom, as the hydrogen ion for which its basicity is 1 and it is known as monobasic acid. Similarly, in case of formic acid, that is HCOOH, it is also able to release a single hydrogen atom as the hydrogen ion. It is also known as monobasic acid. Now, in case of phosphorus acid, this was phosphoric acid, this is phosphorus acid. Now, in case of H3PO3, that is phosphorus acid, it is able to release 2 hydrogen ions in its aqueous solution for which its basicity is 2. That means it is able to release 2 hydrogen ions for which it is known as dibasic acid. Now you might feel confused that while in case of all these acids the number of hydrogen atoms attached to the anion, it is able to release the same number of hydrogen ions as the number of hydrogen atoms present in the acid, but in case of these kind of acids, it is not able to release the number of hydrogen ions as that of the hydrogen atoms present in that acid. So we will discuss it a bit. We will discuss specifically the confused form of acids, which you might feel confused about it. So in case of, if I take an example of an acid whose basicity is similar to the number of hydrogen atoms it contains, in case of phosphoric acid, its structure goes in this way: P double bond O, its structure goes in this way. Remember children, the number of hydrogen atoms attached to the oxygen molecules is released as H plus ion in its solution. Why? It is because oxygen is electronegative in nature, so it has got a tendency to attract the electrons towards itself, for which it facilitates the release of H plus ions, for which in its aqueous solution the H plus ions are easily released. This detailed study or this detailed analysis is not there in your examination or in your syllabus, but just for your understanding, clear understanding, I am just mentioning you. So just get to know about it. You need not memorize it at all, just get to know. So here, in case of phosphoric acid, the number of hydrogen atoms combined with oxygen are released, and here in case of this, it is able to release 3 hydrogen ions for which its basicity is 3 and it is known as tribasic acid. Now let's look after the acetic acid. In case of acetic acid, you will see it has got 4 number of hydrogen atoms in its chemical formula, but it is able to release a single hydrogen ion in its aqueous solution. Now let's see the structure. CH3 COOH. Now this is the structure of acetic acid. Now here in case of acetic acid, the hydrogen atom which is attached to the oxygen is able to be released when it is dissolved in water. That means this here also follows the same reason. The oxygen being more electronegative in nature than that of hydrogen attracts the pair of electron towards itself, for which it facilitates the release of H plus ion, and this H plus ion is released, for which its basicity is 1 and we call it to be monobasic acid. Now let's see what happens in case of formic acid. I am just mentioning all these things for your concept to be clear, but this is not there in your syllabus, so don't feel burdened. Just it is better always to know a bit more. So In case of formic acid, the structure goes in this way. HC double bond O, OH. So this is formic acid. Here in case of formic acid also, the hydrogen atom which is attached to the oxygen is released as H plus ions, for which the basicity of formic acid is 1 and it is known as monobasic acid. So we can generally conceptualize that the hydrogen atom which is attached to the oxygen atom is released as H plus ion in its aqueous solution, which decides its basicity. Now let's look after the structure of phosphorus acid, that is H3PO3. The structure goes in this way. This is phosphorus acid. Its structure goes in this way, that is H3PO3. And H3PO4 was phosphoric acid. So this is phosphorus acid. Here we see there are two hydrogen atoms which are attached to the oxygen atoms, for which it is able to release two hydrogen ions in its aqueous solution, and its basicity is 2, that is, it is dibasic acid. So we can generally in your examination, the very common acids whose basicity is asked is hydrochloric acid, that is its basicity is 1, sulfuric acid, its basicity is 2, for which it is called as dibasic acid. Phosphoric acid, its basicity is 3, it is tribasic acid. Hydrochloric acid, its basicity is 1. Then it comes carbonic acid, its basicity is 2. Acetic acid, remember the hydrogen which is attached to the oxygen, it will be released. So its basicity is 1, it is called monobasic acid. Formic acid, its basicity is 1. It is also called as monobasic acid. And phosphorus acid, its basicity is 2. It is something a tricky type of question. So phosphorus acid, that is H3PO3, its basicity is 2. Remember it, note it down. Its basicity is 2 and it is called as dibasic acid, and it is its structure. So now we can relate the definition with the examples, that is the number of replaceable hydrogen atoms present in an acid which it can release in its aqueous solution. Do not confuse the number of replaceable atoms with the total number of hydrogen atoms present in that acid. So for that I took these 3 examples where you will not be confused that basicity doesn't depend upon the number of hydrogen atoms present, rather the number of replaceable hydrogen atoms present in the acidic molecule, which it releases as H plus ions in its aqueous solution. So now let's discuss what is the process involved while mixing an acid with water, or what is the process of diluting an acid. So dilution of an acid means when an acid is dissolved in water or added to water, then it decreases the concentration of hydronium ion per unit volume. Such process is called dilution, and in such manner the diluted solution of an acid is prepared. But if we look after the process of dilution of an acid, we must always follow this process only, that is, we must add small quantity of acid very slowly dropwise to the water medium with constant stirring to prepare the dilution of an acid or diluted solution of an acid. But we must never reverse the process of dilution of an acid, that is, we must never add water to acid to make the diluted solution of acid, because the reaction is highly exothermic in nature. It may result in splashing of acid and it may cause burns, it may cause damage to eyes, it may cause damage to the surrounding, and the reaction is so highly exothermic that it may cause to the breaking down of the glass container in which you are preparing the dilution or the diluted solution of acid, because of the local heating, and the heat produced is so high in nature that it may lead to the break of the glass container, for which it may lead to many a damage. So please do remember, always remember that do not follow the process, reverse process, that is, do not add water to acid to make the diluted solution of acid. Please do not attempt it in any form or any way. The exact or the correct process of dilution of an acid is add small quantity of acid dropwise to the water medium very slowly with constant stirring to make a diluted solution of an acid. It is regarded as a caution that do not add water to acid. You might have seen in your laboratory, in your school laboratory, that a triangle symbol, red color triangle symbol would be given in the bottles of sulfuric acid or nitric acid that do not add water to acid. So please do never do that, remember it. Regarding this also question used to come in your board examination, that what is the exact process of dilution of an acid, or why we must not add water to acid to make the diluted solution of acid. You can write the answer in this way. It is because the reaction will be highly exothermic in nature. The acid may splash out, it may cause burn and damage to the skin. So, and the reaction is so highly exothermic that the glass container or the beaker may break due to excessive local heating. So for that, we must not add water to acid, rather we must add small quantity of acid dropwise to water medium to prepare the constant stirring to prepare the diluted solution of acid. So this was all about the lecture. Please do like, share and subscribe to my channel Subha Classes, and do feel free to drop the feedback so that I can improve well. Thank you so very much for watching the video. So keep shining, smiling, learning. Very soon I'll be here before you all with my next video. So till then, bye bye. Thank you.